Hey guys, this is your power lesson on reading strategies. We're just going to go through this PowerPoint real quick, and then hopefully you will review this and then be ready to take this test when you either come to extra assessment time on Thursday or class on Friday. Okay, so you have a PowerFocus theory called Reading Strategies, and basically it's talking about what are the things that you do as you read to help you ensure that you are comprehending. So in objective 1, you need to make sure you know SOAP's tone. So subject, occasion, audience, purpose, speaker, and tone. So there might be a question like, what does A stand for in SOAP's tone? And you need to know that that's audience. So make sure you understand what SOAP's tone stands for, and you can be able to find these things in the text that you read or the excerpt that you read. So what is the subject? What is the occasion? Who is the audience? What is the purpose? Who is the speaker? And what is the tone? Speaking of tone, a lot of kids confuse tone and mood. So I want you to try to remember tone is the author's attitude. One thing I like to tell kids is that like that AA, like it has to do with the author. So it's the author's attitude is tone. Whereas mood is about like what the reader is feeling from the text. So tone, author's attitude toward the work. The tone could be inspiring, the tone can be melancholy, the tone could be suspicious, the tone could be jubilant. There's a million different things that the tone could be. All right, I want you to understand what annotating is. Hopefully you do this regularly when you're reading a text. Annotating is how you interact with the text. And annotating is really important because when you interact with the text, it helps you understand it or comprehend it. So there's a million things you could do to annotate. You could write, you could circle, you could underline, you could star, you could highlight, you could do a jot note, you could do like a little sticky note. There's a bunch of different ways you can annotate, but you need to understand what annotating is. And then we're going to look a little bit at what close reading is. You've been doing this for years. Close reading requires you to do two things. You need to annotate and you need to analyze. So annotating, interacting with the text, marking it up. Analyzing is where you're pulling out different like sentences and you're really trying to dig deeper and figure out how does this connect to theme? What does this show us about the character? How does this connect to like a pattern that we see in the real world, right? That's when you're doing that analyzing piece. Remember when you're explaining your evidence after you give your evidence, like in an essay, that's when you're engaging in that analysis piece. So close reading, you have to have annotating and analyzing. Okay, moving on. It's going to go back to the appeals in this test as well. So the appeals are something that you are going to see over and over this year. We talked about rhetoric, and it's the art of speaking really well, communicating really well. And when people communicate well, they use 3 different types of appeals to do that: ethos, pathos, and logos. So you just need to keep in mind, it might give you a passage and it's going to ask you what appeal is being used in this passage. And so if it's appealing to your emotions, right? Either if it's like tugging at your heartstrings or if it's like firing you up, getting you really angry, or getting you really excited. Okay, that's going to be emotions. And remember, pathos is emotions. And then we have ethos. So if somebody's talking about what education should be, well, if they're telling you what education should be, they need to be credible, right? So if some businessman is telling you what education should be, they don't really have any credibility. But if I told you that this person was a teacher, not only they're a teacher, but they have like 15 years experience and they've been in multiple different schools and they also won Teacher of the Year. Okay, that person has credibility to speak on education. Or let's say that they have like a degree, a PhD in education. They would therefore have the credibility. So that would be their ethos. They would be telling you those things or alluding to those things in the text. And that would establish their credibility. Okay, so that's ethos. We talked about pathos. The final thing is logos. That's logic. That one's really easy to find. That's going to be statistics, facts, anything that appeals to that logical side. So a lot of times you can easily recognize those. Okay, our video has to stop, so I'm going to pause and pick up in the next video.